RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. And if you're into that, you're here, man. Hit the subscribe button, like this video, answer the question in the comments below. Do you think Julian Sayin can be the person to break this remarkable streak? So I got this stat just kind of, making the content. Like I'd be making the content, writing down some ideas for week one and what column I think could be good. Obviously, Ohio State and Texas, the biggest game on the menu next week in National College Football Analyst Fox Sports. It's got my attention. So when I saw this stat, I got to credit to orangebloods.com because they uncovered it. I'm still trying to really get to the bottom of this. But the stat is QBs making their first start against number one ranked teams are 0-18. That means that 18 consecutive losses if you got a guy that has never started a football game playing against the number one team in the country. And that isn't as hard to believe as some other things. But when you take into account it's Julian Sayin, and it is not say, no disrespect. You know what? I'm not even going to say no disrespect because it could absolutely be disrespect. So if you are the starter at FCS Directional State and you're making your first start, yeah, you probably made the menu, right? You probably were the meal. You probably were eaten alive by that number one ranked team because we don't often see a guy making his first start against a number one ranked team. And usually when they are, they've done something in the regular season to fortify that position. Maybe they started at it. Maybe they earned it along the way, but they fortified it. Oregon is a great example of a team that got to the number one spot and then fortified it with a win against Ohio State, right? That's where Texas is trying to get to. Fortify the number one ranking with a win against Ohio State at Ohio State. And that is, I think, the key here. This is such an interesting game because it's equal, right? Like you got a guy that is essentially making his first start, but not, right? In Arch Manning. And we say essentially because Mississippi State is garbage, or at least was last year, right? ULM, not good. UTSA, also not good. And not the caliber of football team that you expect Arch Manning to have to, go play against. This one, Ohio State, exactly that kind of caliber of football team. And if you are looking to go and beat Georgia in Sanford, be the first team to do that since 2019, October 2019, when sitting defensive coordinator at Georgia, Will Muschamp, jacked Georgia for its hedges as the head coach of South Carolina. That's how long ago that was. You're looking to do that, you probably need to get past Ohio State, or at least make us believe that you belong in the same stadium as Ohio State. And we would think that, right? Number one versus number two. But the odds, as they say, are ever in the favor of Ohio State. When I last checked the line at Bet Online, partners with the show, is 2.5. So like we're talking about 2 points, 3 points. Y'all be doing the spreads and whatnot. But essentially what this means is we expect a close ball game. It could be 30-28. It could be 25-23. It could be 16-14, right? What we do know is that both Julian Sayin and Arch Manning are tremendously talented. We also know they got tremendous talented wide receiver, Ryan Wingo, DeAndre Moore, Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, and they've got ultra-talented safeties, right? Caleb Downs, I think, is the best defensive player in all of football. So we're going to put him over there. But they also got Michael Taft over at Texas. Linebacker, Sonny Styles, is at Ohio State. Anthony Hill is at Texas, right? We keep going here. I think Edric Houston being lost to Ohio State, that's probably going to hurt, especially since they got, Colin Simmons and Trey Moore over there on that defensive line. But it ain't nothing that Ohio State's offensive line ain't seen before. And again, you're playing at the shoe. And ask the last SEC team to show up at the shoe how that went for them. I give you a hint. Not good, Bob. Not good. But when I saw this stat, I immediately started going through my Rolodex of, do we remember those guys who made their first starts against the number one team in the country? Do we remember that? Usually things have not gone well in that quarterback room on the opposing side. Usually you can make it a first start against number one ranked team, especially if it's not the first game of the season. You lost in a very bad way. You threw the ball to people that you don't live with, people that you don't eat dinner with. You was out there throwing the ball to strangers, giving up the booty to strangers. We don't do that. And keep the job, right? So you got to go, okay, I guess I got to go see what's behind door number 2 or even door number 3 at quarterback position because one ain't holding the water. It ain't getting done. And it is a temperamental position, right? So if you get off to a slow start, are you allowed to finish it, or is it an avalanche? Because usually what happens, again, against the number one ranked team is you see an avalanche. You see one thing go wrong, another thing go wrong, and then it's all coming down on your head. I like avalanche better because I'm not a quicksand guy. Coach used to say, RJ, are you in quicksand? No, I'm not sinking. I'm getting absolutely dumped on because it feels like everything I'm doing is wrong, as opposed to I'm making the mistakes or the sudden movements that cause the quicksand to draw me in. I go forward at warp speed. I don't sit there and move around. I try to go make mistakes and make them loud, make them big, so that if it's coming, it's coming. But you work through it, and either you get to keep the job or you don't. I think Julian Sayin is in a perfect position to, number one, end this streak, right, of 0-18 first-time starters making their starts against number one ranked teams. And two, he could be the most exceptional and important first-year starter since Trevor Lawrence. I mean that because we're also talking about a guy who is inheriting the defending national champions. Now, yes, Emeka Buka's gone. We know this, right? Quinshon Judkins. And my goodness, I'm still trying to wrap my head around losing Trey. Because that sort of speed is just not, it's not regular. I mean, Travion Henderson, I remember telling anybody that would listen, this dude out of Hopewell is different. He's different. And you got to see that his freshman year, and you got to see that a little bit later in the year. And he went through some struggles, some times, right? Sleep paralysis is no joke. But again, they got CJ Donaldson back there now. They got James Peoples. You expect to see Bo Jackson, Turbo back there. I think you got a shot here to be really good. But I also think that there's a tremendous amount of pressure on Sayin to do well, as you are committed and signed and enrolled at Alabama to play for Nick Saban when he pulled the rug out from under everybody and decided to go retire. You go to the transfer portal. You come out at Ohio State alongside Caleb Downs, knowing you're not going to be the guy going into 2024. But you got to sit as the understudy and watch how a grad transfer takes the losses to Oregon, takes the loss to Michigan, and still brings it all the way back to win the national championship. And now you got a ring. You got a ring. Everybody over there at Ohio State got a ring. I realize that they're trying to make like the Philadelphia Eagles and be like, that's last year. We didn't do none of that. And if you're a guy like Julian Sayin, you probably are saying that very loudly because you didn't play a meaningful snap in 2024. It's like Tyrese Halliburton, who was able to clutch a gold medal without playing a single minute in the Olympics, even though that France-US gold medal game, man, that was righteous. Like that was truly amazing stuff. And to be on that team, right? It's got to be like Christian Laettner being on the dream team. You know, you're on the team and you get a gold medal, but that's because you made it through tryouts. It's what it felt like, I'm sure, for Julian Sayin last year. I'm sure that's what it felt like for Devin Brown last year, who just lost his job. Wow. Yeah, that's tough. To a true freshman, it's tough. I'm saying that I think that when I originally just kind of did this as a short or a reel or whatever it is you want to call the short form vertical content, I was trying to see what people were interested in. And I didn't realize that this was going to strike a nerve, and yet it has. It has struck a tremendous nerve. I don't think there's a whole lot to it. As a matter of fact, I get the time. I'll go through it, see which one of these quarterbacks is actually worth a damn, and which one of these guys might have just been outmatched from the beginning. But I'm willing to bet that this is a stat that's going to get bandied about all the way up through August 30th, and perhaps, given what the outcome is, continues to be bandied about week in and week out.